All right. So we're talking about the Capricorn first quarter moon, moving into the building towards the full moon situation. And I pulled 3 cards today. And I love, as always, the synchronicity of them. Can you see them? We got the pine cone, which is also the death card in this sequence, and then white, and it just says light below it, and carnelian. And so I'm gonna start with white because it was interesting when I saw this card, and it's just white, so that's what it looks like. But when I saw this card, my first impression, the thing that came to me, because the color cards aren't really, they don't have a book to go with them. It's kind of very intuitive. And so this deck, this particular card, like immediately to me kind of felt like walking through a snowstorm. Like, because I think that, again, in our society, it tends to be white, good, magic, whatever. White is the good side and dark is the bad side. But if we're thinking of them more as complementary and more as like embodying multiple things in themselves, white has the dynamics as like a positive and negative side, just as black does. There's duality, and there's different facets to everybody, everything, every color, every symbol. There's duality to everything, and we would do well to like honor the dualities of all things. And particularly for this, like, I think that the immediate connotation of white, because of white supremacy and whitewashing and thinking that white is good, is the better part of the white and black combination, like the yin and yang, like yin and yang is working together. So I'm seeing this, and I'm seeing both sides of this card, the necessity for that like cleansing, that energy, like it is energizing, and like white prismatically holds all of the colors. So this is holding all of the colors in it, as well as like shining, beaconing its light. And I think of like clear crystal quartz and that amplifying energy. And that's what this color, or like all of the colors together, creates white. And as well as probably creates black if you mix all the colors together. But that's the thing. It's all the same. But I was feeling like snowstorm, like there's something either, and this is for me, I don't know about for you, but for me for sure, this like cloud, like walking into a storm and realizing that like a storm is happening. But the thing about snowstorms is like you're in your primest position if you just hunker down. Wherever it is, wherever you are, you hunker down. And I'm not speaking from actually knowing this, because I'm California girl. I don't know nothing about no snowstorms. But I imagine that you hunker down and you wait for it to end, because eventually it will end. And if you venture into it, you can get lost, you can freeze to death, so on and so forth. But if you hunker down and you wait for it to end, eventually the sun's going to come out again. And so I'm feeling this kind of energy with this card today. It's like, and also we're like autumn towards winter. It doesn't exist here in California, but I'm sure other places are experiencing weather changes and descent into the coldness, and then the fall, the thinning of the veil. So this is like in the midst of calling in all of these energies, and all of these energies swirling around us, and the veil becoming thinner. We are beacons. We have energy. We have physically manifested energy, and that makes us beacons for other realms. This is a lot. Roll with me here. But it's important for us to know how to take care of ourselves, to know how to create psychic boundaries for ourselves, to know how to protect our energy at all given times. Because I've said this before, and I'll say it again, we're working with the spirit realm. The spirit realm is existing around us and working with us, and we have an opportunity to be strengthened and be guided by the spirits that are for the highest good, and to like put intention into who we're working with in the other realms. And it's important that we do that. And the only way that we can do that is getting right with ourselves, getting right with our physical bodies and what we need and how to take care of this vessel, and then offerings. it's important. So I'm just saying, if we're going through any kind of snowstorms in our minds or in our being, hunker down, wait it out, the sun will come out. And carnelian, so this card, bright, bold, fall colored carnelian, beautiful card. It's about having courage. It's about that feeling that you get as the leaves are changing and you look over the hillside and it's covered with these beautiful orange, red, and yellow leaves. It's that feeling that you get when you're watching a beautiful sunset and it's just like, the world is what it is and there's nothing that we can do about it, but I've got this sunset tonight and it's beautiful and I'm blessed to be here with it. This is the vibe that carnelian is bringing out. It wants to bring out those feelings of the true beauty in yourself and in the world. Like, we are a reflection of this. And to have courage in ourselves and courage in what we had to do, whatever it is that we want to put our energy into, because, you know, it's like orange and red. It has these like veins of red running through it. And so that's speaking to the sacral chakra and the root chakra. Like, how are we grounded in our foundation, our bodies, and our foundation in the world around us? And how are we directing our biological creative energy? Not just our sexual energy, not just towards sex, but our kundalini energy and what we're putting our energy into. And this wants to give us the confidence to put ourselves out there. And, you know, like, consistency, man, I'm telling you, that's the hardest thing for me. It's really, really hard to stay consistent. And I know I see the validity in it and I say this all the time, but carnelian wants to remind you, remind me, like I posted a couple days ago, that like this benefits people even if I don't know that it's benefiting people, because it benefits me, and because I choose to share it with everybody, it benefits more than just me, instead of me just pulling cards for myself. And so that takes courage and stamina and energy that I'm trying to cultivate so I can keep consistency, so that I can keep sharing with people, and then other people keep sharing their stuff, and then we're all sharing together, and then mutual aid happens. Carnelian. So that's the energy I'm trying to bring through. It's like in the midst of the death of fall and the sun setting or the sun rising, you know? Come say, come sa. Last, this pine cone card, which is also the death card, as I spoke to before. I did, because these cards, they didn't come with any anything other than the name of the card and what card it was linked to. So I did my own research about the cards, and I did the finding out and the digging of like, what is the symbolic meaning of this plant? How does this plant actually live in the wild? And how does that culminate with the symbolism of the card that it is tied to? And so this one I feel was really, really interesting, and I don't pull this card that often, so I'm just gonna read it to y'all. So death, the Pinus contorta. This is a fire-dependent species. It requires wildfires to maintain healthy populations of diverse ages. The heat on the closed cone pines opens the cone to release the seeds. This allows the species to regenerate and maintain its place in the forest at the optimal times. There's a special fungus that works with the root of the lodgepole pine to add nitrogen to the soil and help this plant populate nutrient-poor sites. With its straight poles and lightweight nature, it made great wood for things like teepees, lodging spaces, ritual spaces, etc., and can be used as an emergency food source to help aid in getting rid of things like sore throat, tuberculosis, and stomach issues. It's a pretty cool plant, and we got them everywhere around here. Because it's linked to the lodges as well as wildfires, this tree relates to the death card in multiple ways. As the plant that thrives because of destruction, but it also gives nutrients towards the regrowth and the creating ways to facilitate safety and space to gather together. All are aspects of different facets of the death cycle. And so death, you know, really, again, like this card is, I think it's like number 8, I think, in the major arcana cards. So it's nowhere near the end. It can be a scary looking card because we're trained to fear death in our society these days for whatever reason, instead of witnessing it as a transition and just something that happens to all of us and we could roll with it. So in the deck, it really talks about death as just this initiatory process and this thing that happens over and over again in multitude of ways in our lives, and our ability to allow the deaths to happen, allow the regrowth to happen, allow ourselves to pull the nutrients from the death, and the death being the leading to the creating of the next cycle. It's just really important that we allow ourselves to let situations die and to learn from those situations and to do what we need to do to have accountability and atone for whatever happened in our past, and to pick up the pieces of our lives and to utilize the nutrients from what we've gathered and to put that forth into our next energetic pursuit. And so with these 3 cards, I hope that you all have a good next week as we build to this full moon in Taurus. So yeah, take care of yourselves and I'll see you in a week.